Labels. We see them everywhere.
On our clothes, on our phones.
On our foods and on our cars.
But some of the labels are invisible.
We hang them on ourselves or let others stick them to us.
Thug, kid, geek, offender, clever, stupid.
Skinny, nasty, yob, bully, pathetic.
Some labels are positive and some labels are negative, and they don't help us in life. My name is Harry and I'm 15.
My name is Neve and I'm 14.
We're both currently in the youth justice system.
Together we are going to find out more about these things, labels.
And how they affect us. I ended up here by basically a fight in school. He hit me, I hit him. He came off worse.
There's my two closest friends and we had a bit of a falling out, a heated argument over social media where nasty comments were being thrown. It all got a bit out of hand.
So why are you here?
Assault by beating. You?
Just a fight in school. It got out of hand.
Originally I was told that I was going to be arrested for ABH, which is actual body harm. My mum asked the officer if I could get into triage.
I know I did wrong and I do regret it because it just wasn't worth it.
So how has that changed you as a person?
It's made me think about my actions and I think before I do things and how I might harm someone when I do these type of things. Before people are labelled things such as young offenders and yobs, they should be understanding the reason why they are here and why they have done that.
When you see the news, it can look as if young people are just bad.
And kids who've been in trouble with the law like us, I think get labelled as the worst of the lot.
The labels I was giving weren't that bad, but they still changed the way that I thought as I looked to myself.
Do labels hurt you?
They can do because sometimes people don't actually know the background of why some things happen and they don't understand why people may get angry and things like that.
We thought it was about time we went and actually asked people what they think about young people who have been in trouble with the law like us.
And there were a few surprises.
Today we are finding out what people in Barry think about young offenders. So if I said to you, what is a young offender, what would you think?
I'd probably say a young offender is obviously a youth who may be troubled in some ways, who's acting out irrationally.
I have been in trouble with the law. Do you think that I should be labelled as a criminal or a young offender?
No, because if it's your first time doing something bad, you shouldn't be labelled as that.
When the government said no more smacking and stuff like that, that gave the young offenders an open door. Back in my day, it was a case of getting a clip around here.
There's some things people do because they're young and silly and they get in with the wrong crowds.
What do you think a young offender looks like?
Tracksuits, man bags.
Do I look like a young offender?
No, you don't. Not at the moment.
A young offender could look like anything. It could look like me, it could look like you.
Have you ever been labelled yourself?
Yeah, I've been labelled as a criminal, a lowlife. In my personal experience, it's led me to be quite anxious and I with myself and how I speak and stuff like that, because it does hurt to be labelled like that.
Have you been in trouble with the law?
Unfortunately so. This is quite embarrassing, but I got caught shoplifting.
What position are you in now?
I'm earning my way, paying my bills and moving forward.
Do you think young offenders should be labelled names such as yobs, thugs?
No.
I'm surprised that people actually came out of their stories and how some people have been in the youth justice system and people just coming clean.
I was really surprised by one of the people who I met today. The things he had to say I didn't expect, because he said he wasn't confident, and the things that he came out with really made me think about what a label is and why people shouldn't be labelled.
Well, we checked out what people on the streets had to say, but it was time for us to catch up with some other young people in youth justice and see what their thoughts were. Have you been labelled in your life? What kind of labels?
Write a few things down if you want.
Some of the bad ones can range from ugly, fat, gay, scum, chav, stupid, idiot and weird.
So what have you written down, Anthony?
I've written down when my teachers call me a drogie because my eyes look glassy and I'm hyper. Like, you don't want to listen to them, and you just want to have a go at the teachers about it.
Have you ever been called an offender or a criminal?
Yes. I feel that it's right for them to look down on me in a bad way, because it's not good to cause violence. Just having that kind of on my mindset, that people knowing what I've done and where I've been can really get to me, kind of hit me to a personal level, knowing that I could be called all these names, for example, like scum.
How would you guys label yourselves?
Not as a criminal, because obviously it was a mistake.
I'll brand myself more of a mistaker with a sort of redemption, because I knew what I'd done wrong, and I know never to really take that path again.
How has your experience in the youth justice system been, and how have you been treated?
I think we've been treated fairly as a normal person, not discriminated as a criminal or any kind of like that. We've been treated fairly and with respect that any other person deserves.
It was great to meet Craig and Anthony. It's clear that they've both taken responsibility for what they've done wrong in their lives.
They even understand why others would call them criminals or offenders, but they both see that carrying these labels forever isn't helpful.
The youth justice system in Wales actively encourages treating people like me as children first, not offenders.
But I'm interested to hear whether the label children is a good one.
Are you glad you're seen as a child first, not as an offender?
Yeah, I'm glad I'm seen as a child, otherwise I'll be in a worse position.
I am happy that I'm labelled as a child, because if I wasn't labelled as a child, I'd be in jail instead of in triage.
When you actually need help and support, and when you've made mistakes in your past and you need help and support to learn from your mistakes and develop, then sometimes it's good to be labelled a child.
I've also been helped to kind of counteract the anger, which is the main reason why I'm glad I'm labelled a child, because I probably wouldn't get that help in prison.
Is it patronising being labelled as a child?
Yeah, it's patronising because I wanted to be labelled as an adult.
Are there any better words?
Yeah, young adult or teenager, just any other word is better than child.
I found it really interesting hearing other people's opinions and how they felt being labelled as a child. Technically, as I am a child, I feel like it is the right label to be called, although I would prefer to be called a young adult or a teenager.
I'm glad that in the youth justice system, I've been treated as a person, not as an offender first.
They just see me as a person who has made a bad mistake.
Everyone's respectful, they understand what I've done, they realise my mistakes, and not only that, but they're here to help, and that's been offered counselling sessions for my anger. It affects not only me, but my family, the people around me, teachers.
Well, I am obviously sorry for what I did. I know I'm not a young offender. Well, I am, but I don't feel like I am. I shouldn't be a youth offender just because of the one action that I took.
Anybody can be an offender, anybody can be a violent person. There's no stereotypical offender. Obviously I am an offender, but if I walk past the street, past them, and they wouldn't know I was, and I think that wouldn't be their first impression of me. As we have found out, labels do matter. Sometimes they can help us move forward, and sometimes they can hold us back.
It would be great if we didn't have to wear these around our necks, but the good news is we don't have to.
We can choose to throw them off and bin them, or we can write our own.
We may have messed things up, but that makes us just like you.
Do you think a lot of young people are yobs?
What's a yob?
What is a yob?